guys, Pete from Crunch Time Coaching, and welcome to the ultimate guide on how to handle those high forehands. This is going to be a great video, so if you're ready, let's get started. Okay, so a quick story before we get started. I was talking to a woman yesterday on the phone, and she was saying that when she's on the ball machine, she does great, but when she gets out there in a match, that her strokes tend to go. And I find that the high forehand is one of those situations where people's technique breaks down. Also, their tactics break down. So I have a menu of what we're going to cover today because, again, it's the ultimate guide to the high forehand, and these are the issues that I see happen over and over again. So number one, we're going to teach you how to decide whether you're going to take the ball on the rise or if you're going to back up. That's a very important decision, and I'm going to give you a clear answer on how you're going to do this. Number two is we're going to go through tactics and technique, and it depends on what zone you're in, okay? So we're going to talk about where you are on the court, and that's going to help you adjust your tactic and the stroke technique you're going to use at the shot. I'm also going to talk about the number one mistake to avoid that I call the moonball trance, and we're also going to cover the number two mistake. We're going to teach you how to avoid the number two mistake, which is I call the dumbest shot in tennis. And then finally, we're going to talk about spacing contact. So you can see we got a lot to cover. Let's get started. Plus, I'm going to have free bonus training for you, giving you a modern tennis makeover on the forehand. So let's get to it. Okay, so as we're having this on the rise forehand come in, we have a couple of important decisions to make. And that is, are we going to take the ball on the rise, or are we going to back up and then hit our forehand? Whether we're taking it lower or still on the rise, that's the important decision to make. And I find that people struggle to make the right decision. So I'm going to give you a clear definition of what you want to do. Now there's a couple of factors that you really want to think about. One is the depth of where the ball is going to be bouncing, and two is the speed, the velocity of the type of ball you're receiving. Okay, are you receiving more of a moon ball, where the ball is coming higher and slower, or you're receiving more of a Rafael Nadal type forehand to where it's coming high, but it's coming with a lot of speed and pace and spin? Okay, now let's just talk about, first of all, the depth. I find that whether you're getting a high moon ball or a ball that's got more speed and velocity on it, that if you take your tennis racket here and you just put it on the baseline and forward, anything that's going to be bouncing within this area, within the tennis racket area, you're not going to really have time to back up, okay? Even if it's a slower moon ball, most likely if it's got good height on it and it's bouncing, you're going to run out of real estate. By the time you get back here, the ball is still going to be way up here because of the rebound off of the court, especially if you're playing in a warm weather situation. The warmer the weather is, here's another quick tip, the higher the ball is going to bounce. So the balls will die faster if it's cold outside. So that's another factor that you might want to think about. But anything right here within this area, this is when you have to get good at on the rise, taking the ball right off the bounce. Now also, I recommend that if it's coming high like this, that we try and avoid hitting the ball up here if it's coming fast. Okay, so if the ball is coming like a Rafael Nadal type forehand and it's going to be bouncing anywhere within this area of the court, we want to take the ball pretty much right off the bounce if we can. Even if we just have to block the ball back and put it back in play, because these can be tricky if they're bouncing this deep and then you're allowing the ball to get up high, because most likely at that point you're going to have an almost impossible time. If you allow the ball to hit the ground and then bounce up, and it's bouncing up quick, if it gets up this height, you're most likely going to be late. So that's why you want to really kind of almost go with like a scoop play and push it right off the bounce, and trying to take the ball around your knees to your waist if possible. Now, if the ball is coming and it's going to bounce in front of the tennis racket, well, now again you have to factor. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't back up, but now you have more options. Now you have more options to take the ball on the rise and also higher, because now there's more space between you and the ball, and you can actually play these back quite offensively if you get good at it, especially if you are somebody who has a semi-Western grip, even a Western grip. This is, people typically really like these balls. So let's say I am getting that Rafael Nadal type forehand coming at me, and the ball is bouncing in front of here, in front of the tennis racket. Well, now I can actually take that ball higher and swing through it and play a more aggressive shot. My other option is to back up, okay? And typically, I find that if the ball is a real lollipop moon ball, but it's still going to be difficult to time. Let's say it's a lollipop moon ball, but the ball is going to be coming out this way. I'm probably going to choose to back up and let the ball drop a little bit and hit it. If the ball is within this kind of box area, so I'm just going to draw a box. If it's kind of like if it's within a couple steps off the baseline this way, off the center mark, if it's within a couple steps and forward, well, those are easier than to move forward and take on the rise. So think about that. If you're getting a ball that's coming higher, but it's going to be bouncing before the length of the tennis racket on the baseline, and they're coming out wider, well, they're tougher to get to the ball and take on the rise. If you can get there quickly, do that. But I recommend that when you see the ball, this is when you start to back up quickly and then let the ball start to drop again, and then you hit it. If the ball is coming within this area, whether it's a moon ball or a Rafael Nadal type shot, then I suggest you try and take this ball on the rise and higher. And so we're going to talk about how to hit that in a little bit. Okay, so now that we are getting clear on our decision if we're going to move back or take the ball on the rise, let's talk about tactics and technique, okay? So what's the right shot to play, and then how should we try to hit this shot? So let's talk about that one ball that's going to be bouncing before the tennis racket. It's going to be in here, and it's going to be coming high. This gives us an opportunity to where we actually, especially if we have a semi-Western grip, if we're staying our ground, this gives us an opportunity to be offensive, and we're going to like to take the ball up here, okay? We want the ball up there. And as we're here, we have more options, in my opinion. There's different zones on the court right here. From here to the net is basically zone 1, okay? Right in here is zone 2. Right over here is zone 3. On the baseline, zone 4. And back here in the green is zone 5. So if I'm getting a ball that I can actually move into the court a little bit, take the ball higher in zone 4, this is a shot that I actually feel like I can almost get a little leverage on the court. I can't quite swing down on the ball, but you're going to do kind of an under and over type move, an under and over type move to where you're still getting a little bit of height over the net, aiming about 2 to 3 feet over the net, but you can be more offensive back with your shot. And this is also in this area, you can change the direction if you want. So the highest percentage right here is cross court, but it's also okay to take the ball down the line in this position. Now let's get to the moon ball. Okay, and I want you to avoid the #1 mistake that I call the moon ball trance. And so this is what the moon ball trance looks like. So what I see is that the opponent hits the ball. So the ball is hit, and you're standing there as this moon ball is coming. You're standing there kind of mesmerized watching it. Then the ball starts to bounce, and you realize you got to back up. So you back up a couple steps, and then you usually take the ball up this way, or you swat the ball down with poor footwork, and you end up missing the shot in the net. So that's the number one mistake you want to avoid. I call that the moon ball trance, to where you're just delaying your movement of the tennis ball. What you want to do instead is when you see that ball, as soon as it's hit from your opponent's racket, as soon as you can tell it's going up and high, but it's going to bounce in an area of the court where the ball can go up, what you're looking for is a ball that's going to rise and it's going to start to fall before it reaches whatever you have behind you, whether it's a fence or you're inside, you've got a bubble. If the ball is still rising here, you've made a poor decision. You can just kind of, put that in your computer, your data up here, and go, okay, next time I see that same ball, I got to take that on the rise, okay? But what you don't want to do is wait and watch. You've got to make a decision right away. So as soon as that ball's hit, what you want to do is you want to consider it a race, and you're going to beat that ball back there to where you're waiting for it. In fact, you can even come back to it. That's the big thing that very few players do, is they will back up, and they're still backing up as they're hitting the shot most of the time. That's when you know you didn't do as good a job as you could have. If you're able to back up quickly and then come back to the ball and hit it, then you're in good position. Okay, now you're doing a good job. But sometimes you'll be able to even come back to the ball, but the ball will still be high, and that's okay. So that's going to bring us to our number 2 mistake to avoid, which I call the dumbest shot in the world, and that is choosing to aim low and hard over the net. I see lots of people, they'll get back here, they're in position, they're not in bad position, the ball still comes high though, and since it's high, especially if they like to crush the ball inside the court and have some success, they try and do the same thing here, and they try and hit the ball hard and low from back here. This is maybe the dumbest shot in tennis that I see at the recreational level, because even if you make this shot, which you're going to miss a lot in the net, you're still hitting the ball short. And because you've hit it hard, you're also giving yourself less time to recover back to the baseline. So this is an area of the court where you definitely have to think more like a chess player. You have to think 2 shots ahead. You have to think at least 2 shots ahead, because you're back here and you're just thinking for that one shot, like, oh, it's high and it's meaty and I know I can crush this ball, right? Again, lots of these shots are going to end up in the net. Lots of these shots are going to end up in the net like that. And then even if you're making the shot, look where I'm standing. I make this shot. I hit it hard, but I'm hitting it low, okay? And when you hit it low, there's a good chance the ball is going to go short. So as the ball goes short, that invites my opponent, even if it's hard, they can move into the court. They're using my pace, and then they can hit the shot over there cross court, and I'm not going to be able to recover. So if I'm thinking more like a tactician, more like a chess player, thinking a couple shots ahead, I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to aim it high, okay? It's like basically like a game of chicken, where if we get into this lob rally, I'm going, okay, it's okay that you lob me. I'm going to hit the ball back higher and heavier, and hopefully you'll make a bad decision, or I'll give you so much spin that you can't handle it and you end up missing the shot. So from here, I'm aiming high and heavy, and then as that's going up in the air, it gives me time to recover. This is one of the plays that Rafael Nadal does to perfection. He'll get back here, especially on a clay court. He'll hit that ball back high and heavy, move back in. If they're a little late, he's already moving in here and taking that next ball for an inside-out winner. Not saying that that's going to happen to you all the time, but that's how quickly you can take defense to offense. So lots of people are trying to take offense right back here and going high and low over the net, where if you were to just go back high and heavy, that's a very tough shot for people to handle. No one likes those balls. You could in the very next shot, if you see that they're struggling with that and they're struggling to get any kind of power on the ball, you could, in theory, hit a winner on the very next ball. So be patient back here. Hit that ball back high and heavy. Now, I also want to cover, if you guys do not have a semi-western grip, if you do not have a high and heavy topspin shot, you still have a couple options. Okay, so I want to go through a couple options you have back here. You can, even with a continental grip, okay, I'm going to go with a continental grip, still hit a very tough shot for anybody 4.0 and under to handle. Yes, in fact, I wouldn't even really enjoy this shot very much, to be honest. And so if that ball is coming low, you can again just get good at doing a nice moon ball back. Look at that ball, and it's bouncing at the baseline. That's a very, very tough ball for people to handle, okay? So don't think that you have to hit, you know, a buggy whip, big toss and forehand back here for it to be an effective shot. You don't. Another thing is if the ball is getting above your shoulders and you can't, even if the ball is up here high, you can still swing under and up through this. That's a mistake. I see people, as the ball gets high, they think that they have to swing down on it. You can still come from beneath this ball and swing up on it. But let's say now it's gotten so high above your shoulders to where that doesn't feel comfortable either. I see a lot of people back here, what they'll do is it comes up here, they'll flick their wrist at it, and that's another sure way that you're going to hit the ball short, and you're going to hit the ball in the net. Instead, the technique, what you want to do is, as the ball's coming high up here, is to use your shoulder and your legs and a volley technique and push it back. Push it back. But I would even try and loft it back a little bit. Remember, your number one strategy in this position is to be able to get back on the baseline. When you're back here, don't think about winning the point. Think about getting back in the point. So again, you want to be pushing with your shoulders. The ball is up here, and push. And you see how I did that? That was I just guided it back. And notice I'm not going low over the net. I went high over the net, and the ball went deep. So as I hit that shot, I'm going to be moving in and getting back on the baseline. And it basically becomes, if you get into these type of rallies, it basically becomes a game of chicken, to where you keep moving back, moving in. Eventually you're going to hit such a good shot that your opponent either misses or they hit a weak ball, and now you can take offense. Okay, finally I want to cover something very, very important, and that is your spacing and your contact point. So I was just at a conference the other day, and someone said, you know, we're talking about the contact point, and he said, well, yeah, it's basically like if you're going to go forward and kind of turn a doorknob, that's your contact point. And that's a great tip if the ball is at your waist. If the ball becomes a high ball, and this is something that a lot of people don't think about, that no longer becomes an ideal contact point. So watch this as we see an imaginary ball come in, and it's coming at my waist, and I take that doorknob technique. I look pretty comfortable there, right? That looks like a pretty comfortable, natural, flowing swing as it's coming in at my waist, and I use that doorknob technique. That feels pretty good. Now if I take that and I rise it up to here, now all of a sudden I look super awkward as the ball is up there. Can you guys see that? That does not look comfortable at all for me to hit. All right, and this is a big mistake that a lot of people make, is as that ball is higher, they don't adjust their space and they miss. So remember, on high balls, you need to be further away from the ball than if a ball is coming at your ideal strike zone. The ideal strike zone is probably about from your knees, just below your chest, and even just below your chest, if you still use that, see, watch how much it can change. Right there, it looks good. I got the doorknob technique right there at my waist, that looks good. Even as I rise up to about my chest, it's starting to look awkward. And as I come higher and higher, it looks more and more just uncomfortable. You can see there's no power there. So watch, just by changing and now coming more out around here, now all of a sudden I look a lot better, okay? So look at that right there. I have to be much further away from the ball. We want to be fully extended in our arm out to the side and coming up and hitting those. That's the technique we want to be using on these shots where we're taking the ball higher. Even if we want to aim more down the hill, even if we're able to come to into the court and we're able to kind of almost feel like we're swinging down on the shot, aggressively going for a winner, if the ball's high and see, now there's no way. But if we're out here, now I can kind of, again, really push in there. So let's take a look at it from the side. So again, that doorknob technique, I'm right here. That feels pretty good, nice natural swings. I start coming higher and higher. I start looking more and more awkward. I can't even really swing there. So now I got to create more space as the ball is coming higher, more space, and up to the shot. Now, the decision to make is if I'm going to hit the ball back higher with kind of like a Rafael Nadal buggy whip type shot, if I'm going to hit this high ball higher, I want to be coming still low and up and out to it. Low, up and out to it's the technique, and then up and then over, kind of like a pocket to pocket. I have a couple of ways to do this, or to come here, up, spin it, over and relax down on the other side, or even to do like a Rafael Nadal type finish where we come up and then around the head like that. Those are two ways to hit that shot. I recommend, I think the easier way in the beginning for most of us are to come here up, raise high, we're creating like a rainbow arc, and then falling through there. So it looks like this. If I'm going to take this ball, if I'm able to move inside the court and I want to be more aggressive and kind of hit more of a down the hill shot, one thing I suggest is now we start really leaning on the ball, stepping forward, going more linear with our footwork rather than in an open stance. And we come here, we come under it still a little bit, but then really push over it and really leaning into the ball. And again, you can see that I'm really extended out here, so our contact point is much further out in front if we want to take some offense on it. If I want to hit the ball more neutral and be more of a rally ball, I can make contact about there and hit a great shot and finish there. If I want to really go for it, now I got to really lean in and hit the ball a lot further out in front and through. Okay, and really leverage my chest and my shoulders over the ball. Hey, stop there. This is Pete from Crunch Time Coaching, and today I want to give you a modern tennis makeover on the forehand. I've got a 5-part free training series that is going to cure most of the problems I see from recreational players over the age of 40. Most recreational players lack the desired spin, power, and control they want because of inferior, outdated stroke technique. Funky grips, poor setup, and incorrect swing paths are killing your forehand. Sign up for my free 5-part series, Modern Tennis Makeover, and start building a better forehand instantly by watching my first video on core power, which I promise is going to be an eye-opening experience. In video 2, watch one of the biggest changes that's happened on the professional tour in the last 7 years, used by your favorite pros, Djokovic, Federer, Murray, Nadal, and it's used to dramatically shorten the swing cycle, yet increase racket head speed and power on the ball. In video 3, I'm going to show you how to absolutely murder your approach shot. In video 4, I'm going to show you why not only learning a swing volley is a costly mistake, but I'm also going to show you how and when to use it. Finally, in video 5, I'm going to show you a disguised topspin lob that's going to have your opponents walking on eggshells every time they approach the net against you. I promise fun, enjoyment, and improvement, or your money back. Guys, it's absolutely free. You have nothing to lose and a modern forehand to gain. So click here to start training instantly and watch the first video on core power right now. We'll see you inside the free training series.